The question I'm seeking to answer in this video is simple. How do we explain the universal appeal of Seiko's affordable cushion case divers? One tension in horology has always been between old world craftsmanship and new world innovation. The idea of appreciating artists and the intricacy and refinement that comes with handiwork, but then also looking forward and seeing where technology and where innovation has led us. Futurism and nostalgia will always have their place, but I want to look at an often overlooked third way. And I think a useful concept to explain the idea I have is the aesthetic principle of Wabi-Sabi. But first I want to show that simple specs or even provenance aren't enough to explain the appeal of the SKX. The SKX series of Seiko dive watches is the 5th generation of Seiko recreational automatic diving watches. They're a recreational diving watch which are above Seiko's introductory level quartz divers, but aren't even really close to Seiko's very impressive shrouded and professional diving watches. Specifications are nothing to write home about in the SKX 009, so let's just knock that out. This watch was introduced in 1996 as a 42mm diver with 22mm lugs. It's got a water resistance of 200 meters, and it's a cushion case style. The 7S26 movement powering the SKX series of dive watches is remarkably unremarkable. It incorporates a quick-set day and date display, an automatic bidirectional winding system using Seiko's famous magic lever system, and lacks any sort of manual winding capability. It's sort of an unfortunate trademark of these watches. It's basically a machine-assembled movement with zero decoration and doesn't really carry any pretenses whatsoever. It's a machine and it works. The SKX's stainless steel case features a variety of polished and brushed surfaces. The large two-tiered bezel is toothy and studded, for lack of a better word. There's some extra steel taken out in between the lugs for room for your straps or bracelet. On the case back, you've got the classic Seiko wave as well as the specifications and serial number. Taking a quick look at the dial, you've obviously got blues and reds as well as basic Seiko text. This is a K series SKX, which means it's made in Malaysia, although Seiko has publicly stated that they're the exact same as their Japanese watches. That's a highly contested question amongst collectors. Love to hear your opinions on that, actually. The crystal is Hardlex, which is proprietary to Seiko and is chemically hardened. It has a very nice look and is beveled around the edges. The case features a large asymmetrical crown. The crown guards are sometimes described as a blister crown guard. It's a very fluid and integrated design with the rest of the case. It is asymmetrical. The crown unthreads fairly smoothly. It's not particularly refined. And of course, as you can see, when you pull the crown out, the watch continues to function. That is basically another way of saying it has no hack function. The finishing of the case is brushed on the top of the case and then polished on the sides. The brushing is consistent and the polishing is fine, but over time it will acquire basically micro scrapes. Try to ignore the hideous spring bar I've got on here and notice the finely chamfered edge on the side of the case. Once the crown is unthreaded, adjusting it to the first position allows you to adjust the day and the date. I love the typography of these Seiko watches. It seems very intentional. Notice how wide those Arabics are on the date. They're round, they have serifs. They work with the overall fluidity of the case. It's something that is also a heritage feature because old Seikos have a very similar layout. We've got a unidirectional rotating bezel, and as you can see, the clicking is consistent, fairly mechanical, not really rattly but hollow, and it does hold fairly firmly. The watch's natural environment is certainly on the wrist, and it's very comfortable thanks to all the round design elements. One thing I really like is the depth of the dial thanks to the tall bezel and fairly tall chapter ring. It gives the round indices a sense of depth, and also gives you plenty of time to enjoy the sword and arrow hands. The watch definitely works great on a NATO or Zulu, and there are very nice aftermarket oysters available too. Long history and solid specs aside, I want to go to another idea. This is something I've learned from Leonard Cohen's book Wabi-Sabi, and it's this idea of objects taking on character over time. This watch dates from 1997, and one thing you've noticed I haven't talked at all about is the condition of the watch. The bezel insert, the dial, and the case are three things that have really taken on a lot of character. The dial has mellowed over time. The blue is washed out. The indices have taken on a wonderful creamy yellow that's just a little dirty. Unfortunately, the hands have been replaced, but actually the date rings haven't, and those are a little creamy too. It's actually surprised me because I think Seiko stopped using tritium-based looms in the 70s. Little needs to be said about the faded aluminum insert in the bezel. It's a love it or hate it thing. I think the faded look is awesome, and I love all the little scrapes, how all those little dents tell a story of the watch's use. And hey, that little bezel pip is still there. Without getting into the deep religious and historical significance of Wabi-Sabi, what it teaches us is that material things are changing and that they develop beauty even in decay. And that's especially true of ordinary objects. If you just enjoy nature, you can find it everywhere. So this is what I want to propose about the Seiko recreational diver. The appeal isn't merely in the decent specs or the well thought out design, nor even the long history. Rather, the special appeal is in the character that these watches are able to acquire with the passing of time. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing.